Nope, we're live now. Good evening. We're going to give it just a couple minutes to see if folks pop in here. So we'll start at about 7:02, 7:03. Mr. Willie, would you like to start?
Good. All right. Well, welcome, Bearcat families, students, and parents. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. We realized late last week, after we had sent all the information out and got everything on the calendar, that we had scheduled this on top of the presidential debate. So we apologize for that. We will check the debate schedule next time, if just to double check that. So imagine probably have a lot of folks watching this after the fact with the recording, and we're going to share that out in the newsletter, and or maybe joining us a little late for the Q&A session. So again, thank you for being here tonight and taking time out of your evening. Tonight's webinar really is focused on, just from the parent side of things, how to support students right now during distance learning, and just want to acknowledge the challenge on all across the board, really, but especially on the home front. Just knowing as a parent myself what's happening at home, and trying to keep kids organized and remember when Zoom meetings are and all that. I know you guys are having a heavy lift on the home front, so we just thank you for what you're doing to support your children. And I know for me as a parent, I keep trying to look for the silver linings in here to help our kids really see the lessons that they're learning right now, like beyond school, just lessons of perseverance and grit and character and all those things that seem to be bubbling up right now as they're surviving through school. So also want to acknowledge our staff, just for our parents and families. Never seen a staff work so hard. I mean, these guys are putting in more hours than they ever have, because they really want to do a great job for your kids. And I know the work-life balance for everybody right now is probably heavy on the work side, And I know that's very true for our staff, just seeing the things that they're trying to do to really make this happen in this mode. So I want to acknowledge that, because I know that they're working hard and they want to do a great job for your kids. So any feedback you can give us on, hey, try this differently, or have you thought about that? We definitely welcome that, because we really do want to continue to make improvements at how we're doing school right now. So overall, I think the general feeling, at least at the school side of things, is that it's going fairly well. I mean, there's always challenges. I think early in the year, maybe still now, some things with Canvas that are happening. We had the worldwide Canvas problem at the beginning of the week, or I can't remember if it was Canvas or Zoom. I feel like it was a Canvas issue, but nonetheless, those types of things, or maybe some issues with Zoom here and there, but feeling like a lot of those bugs are starting to get worked out, and we have a lot of staff that are using Canvas for the first time, so they're really doing a great job of trying to make it user friendly on the student side of things. I know on the teacher side, it takes a lot of time and work to try to get things in there. And anyway, so we're really wrestling to get those things in order, but I know our staff's working really hard for that. So overall, the general feeling is it's going well. I think the biggest thing right now, and we have a staff meeting tomorrow, really, and it kind of leads us into this how to support our students webinar tonight. We've kind of got two groups of students emerging right now. The kids that are showing up and engaging are really doing pretty well overall, and they're passing their classes, and teachers are able to work with them and help support them. And then we have groups of students that are maybe there but really aren't turning anything in, and oftentimes don't have cameras on, or muted. It's almost like they're here, but we're not really sure if they're here. And so we've got quite a number of kids that are in that boat that aren't passing their classes right now. So there's really kind of two extremes happening in distance learning. There's not a lot of in between. So as a staff, we're going to focus on the things we can do on our end to try to support those kids that are not passing right now. That's very concerning, because obviously our number one job is to get these kids to graduate, and anytime you fail a class, you get further and further behind. So we have a lot of work to do on our end to just try to figure out, okay, what haven't we tried? Let's make sure we're partnering with parents and families and really doing everything we can to try to pull those students in to engage in the learning and be successful. So just wanted to put a plug for you on the parent side of things, and I'm sure you're doing this already, but just double check how your students are doing and progressing, and keep an eye on them, because I know we have quite a few kids that are getting behind. So anything you can do on your end to press in a little bit and kind of keep track of where they are, and reach out to us if you notice things. We definitely appreciate that. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Seamers and the team, and we're going to launch into some topics tonight around how we can all work together to support students. And I think at the end, we'll have some time for questions and answers. So we'll be able to field some of those as the evening progresses. So again, thank you for being here tonight, and we'll get started.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Willie. Appreciate that. Tonight we have our administrative team. Ms. Tark is here. She's going to be speaking with us about Snoisle and Snoisle CTE update. We also have Mr. Molina, who'll be here for our Q&A. And then we have one of our teachers, Ms. Sar Lewis, who is here and has been a tremendous support in helping us with Canvas and Zoom and all of our tech pieces. She is our digital learning teacher at Monroe High School. So as you can see, the agenda is on the screen there. We always like to start when we have meetings with staff or meetings with students to remind us of the commitments that we have. And so we'll start with that. We'll talk a little bit about how you can help your students stay organized and how you can help your student focus on their self-care. We will take a quick walk through Zoom, Canvas, and Skyward. We'll watch a short video from our counseling team. And then as I shared, Ms. Tarek will share with us CTE Snoisle. And then at the end, we'll have time for Q&A. So if you're popping questions into the Q&A now, we will go ahead and answer those at the very end live. So stay with us. A successful Bearcat commits to the following: remaining engaged in the work, focusing on the learning set for each session, being prepared both mentally and physically, exhibiting respect for the learning environment, asking questions and seeking clarity when needed, and collaborating with classmates to grow their learning. And this is something that we use with our staff as well. So collaborating with colleagues is how that language would change, but we use this with all of our staff and all of our students as well. So let's start with some things of how, Mr. Willie talked about and kind of encouraged families, and we know you're already doing this because we hear from you, and we're so grateful that we can partner with you in your students during distance learning. We wanted to capture a few just ideas for you that we find are helpful, that we hear a lot about as we research best practices. And so we'll focus a little bit on some logistical ideas and then also some ideas specific to the learning space. One of the things that we're finding is a lot of students will make the assumption that because we're online, they don't need to have an organizational system. And so one of the biggest pieces that can help students, if your student is struggling, is either if they're going to stay online, which a lot of our students like, is to create a folder in their Google Drive and have a file for each class where they're saving things. So when they have to upload something to Canvas, or they have to upload something or share it, all of it is right there in a really organized fashion. Alternatively, in my house, we actually just resorted to hard copy binder. And so we have dividers for each class, and the kids, when they have to work on an assignment that's hard copy, they just have it inside their binder. And some things they keep electronic as well, but making sure that work stays organized. Another recommendation is to have your student bookmark frequent sites that they access often, or really teach them how to use the taskbar where they can pin different apps so it's easy access. Canvas would be a great one to pin in an easy access spot or a shortcut. We encourage you as parents to become an observer in Canvas. And in a few minutes, you'll see how you can do that if you haven't already. The nice thing about that is it's a one-stop shop, as I like to call it, outside of Skyward, but you will be able to see your students' 4 classes. You'll be able to see the assignments that they have. You'll be able to see anything that you really want to know about your student in the classes that they're in by becoming an observer in Canvas. And we're working with families all the time who are experiencing, like me at least, technological unprowess is my made up word, but I'm not tech savvy. And so I always end up having to ask for help. So we're working with families all the time. So please ask us because we're happy to help you. And then the final recommendation on that side is thinking about printing a paper monthly calendar or getting a planner to just write down due dates. Encourage your student, once they get the assignment from the teacher that day, write down the due date, put a little checkbox by it, and they can check it off once it's turned in. Let's talk quickly, and this is something we talk to our staff about, is their workspace. And we really think about students in the same fashion and having a dedicated workspace that's prepared for them. We also recognize that many families and homes have a lot going on. They might have parents working in the home. They might have siblings. They might have animals. I know you may have seen me at the beginning kind of shooing our 6-month-old puppy out. So we recognize that, we acknowledge that, and so we just want to make sure I say that first. But if your student can set up a dedicated workspace and have paper, pencils, pens, their Chromebook charger, all the things that they might need, that's very helpful for them. It also allows them to mentally differentiate when it's time for school, if they go and sit in a specified workspace. We also recommend that as a family, you set some ground rules for those people who are in the workspace. Again, like I said, many households have multiple family members right now who are engaging in learning or work at the same time. And of course, we understand when the pet walks across the computer or when something happens behind you as you're in a meeting or in one of our Zoom things. And so we understand that. And we also know that student anxiety can be reduced by making sure they know there are clear guidelines in place for them, much like you would if you're working from home. We have received some concerns from students about the backgrounds that they see other students using during Zoom classes. And so we wanted to make sure to share our recommendations on a background. We would ask that you're sitting in a space that has something. I love Mr. Willie's right now. He is outside enjoying this warm evening. And then the other example is Miss Tarek's virtual one. She's got her Bearcat and her M-Town back behind her. And so we would encourage students to either have something fairly simple or plain behind them, or create a virtual one that is school appropriate. when we get concerns from other students, it's usually ending up causing a disruption to the educational environment. And so we follow up with those and we ask students to change, and everyone's been very, very, very gracious in that. But that's just an example. Another question that we get a lot is, why don't you require my student to have their camera on? I'll be transparent. We love seeing student faces. Our teachers love seeing student faces. It's actually something that wakes us up in the morning. I got to join an ASB leadership class last week, and it was so amazing to see their faces and their smiles and just engage with them that way. We miss our students, and so we love it when they have their cameras on. However, we also recognize there are a lot of unique home situations that may not allow for students to have their cameras on, and so that's why we do not require students to have their cameras on. We would love it if you encouraged your student to turn their camera on, because maybe you might go a little farther. And the other thing we know is that when 1 or 2 or 3 turn their cameras on, more typically join in turning their cameras on. So that's something to be thinking about when we talk about cameras and that learning space. All right. Next, taking care of yourself and focusing on self-care. And this is something, again, we actually, when we had our professional development days with our staff, we talked through and had a huge emphasis on staff being really intentional about caring and self-care. So we recommend, and I'll say this, during our connection time in a couple weeks, we're actually going to be taking students through a couple of modules that focus in on taking care of themselves and some of these things we're going to talk about. So we encourage you to have a morning routine. Ritual is so key, tradition. It ties what they're having to do now at home to the normal kind of rhythms and routines that we have during a regular school setting. And so we, in my house, and hopefully in yours, if you don't, it may help. You wake up, you shower, you do whatever family chores need to be done before school starts. I make my kids leave for school 5 minutes before class starts. And so they know that they have to be in their seats before class starts. They often tell me that they're embarrassed because they're like, Mom, the teacher, I'm the only one in there with them. No one else comes till the class starts. So I guess that's the benefit of being an educator's kid. But we also, this is a helpful hint, we have our kids, my kids, check their computer for updates the night before when they go to bed. And that's just something, a routine thing that they do, so they're not surprised in the morning when they wake up. We encourage you to have your students step away from the computer at lunchtime. Have them take a break, have them get outside and breathe in some fresh air if they can. And then those last few bullets, focusing in on rest, healthy eating, exercise whenever they can, finding an accountability partner to help keep them active and to keep them engaged in the work. And then any chance we have this year, we are sharing some resource lines, and those got handed out at Chromebook Day and 9th grade pickup day, and then they also got handed out at textbook day. The Snohomish County crisis line is on there, as well as a text option and then an online 24-hour chat. And so we are encouraging you to utilize those if you need those resources. One of the things that we learned from our mental health professionals is that we are going to have an astronomically high rate of students dealing with anxiety and depression and post-traumatic stress disorder right now, as well as their families. And so we want to make sure you have access to those resources as we go. So we're going to move forward and we're going to watch a short video on Canvas.
This is going to be just a quick walk through accessing Canvas from the website, as well as becoming a parent observer. So from the Monroe School District homepage, you will go to the Families tab in the top black bar. There are 2 tabs here that we want to pay careful attention to. One is the second tab called Canvas Observer, and then further down is an Online Resources and Textbooks tab. But let's start here. So becoming an observer in Canvas is important. This will give you a chance to view your students' classes and certain components of each teacher's Canvas page. To get started, in the upper right corner of the small green box, there's a parent of a user. Click here for an account. You will click there. It will ask for your name, your email, your password, and a student pairing code, which your student will be able to provide to you. You'll agree to the terms of use, select Start Participating, and that will give you access to a Canvas account, which would be your students. To go back and then check up on Canvas, we'll use that Online Resources and Textbooks tab lower down. There's two spots here that I want to point out. One is the Canvas tab, and one is the Canvas Help for Families tab. The Canvas Help for Families tab has some helpful tutorials and tools that can help you navigate. And then there's also, as you can see here, some tutorials for students and families for Skyward and whatnot. But we're going to click on Canvas, and that will take you, when you have an account, it'll take you to a Canvas page. And this is what that looks like. So I am a student in Miss JJ's leadership class. So I'm going to go there. From here, this is an example of a teacher's Canvas homepage. So Miss JJ has included the class, her philosophy of life, her learning philosophy, and 3 important words for her year. She's also included a link to her email here, and then her office hours are posted. Additionally, she shares with students and parents the Zoom expectations for her classroom, as well as the classroom norms. This helps students know exactly what Ms. JJ expects. If we scroll down further, students can see what groups they're in and when they meet. She has her attendance policy included here. Students can select announcements here, and then also she has her weekly schedule set up with links to each assignment and what things look like, including due dates. So super helpful, super informative on JJ's site. The other spot I want to show you is this left-hand side. It has a number of options. Mine looks different than what yours will look like, and ours both look different than what a student's might look like. First, you'll notice some tabs have an eye with a line through it, and that just means we can't access that. I won't have any access to what quizzes are there. Things I can access on this page are a Zoom link, and so once I click on this, it would take me to the link of Miss JJ's meetings. I could click the join button. Additionally, the assignments for her class. If I click on assignments, I can see what assignment is due in week 4, when is it due and what time, how many points is it worth, discussions that I'm asked to participate in if I need to go to the syllabus. Another way to join meetings for students is to use this calendar tab on the far left. Once I click on calendar, I can now see when are my meetings. And if I were to click on that, here is my information to join a class. So I sure hope this is helpful for you all.
All right, it's kind of weird watching yourself in a video, and but it was easier making that. So, and we'll have access to it later. Hopefully that helps you understand Canvas a little bit better. I know there are some Canvas questions in the Q&A, and I'm excited that we have Ms. Sarlewis here who can help us answer some of them, hopefully at the end. Next, we're going to talk about Skyward. I used my own son as an example, and so I will give you this disclaimer. My son is in the Lake Washington School District, but it looks almost exactly the same. This will look really familiar to you. This is the homepage for Skyward. Some things that we want to show you. I'm going to look at 3 things tonight with you. One is gradebook and how you can get more information, as well as see missing assignments. The other one is certain notifications that you can turn on, and then finally GradRec. So you can see gradebooks over here in the left bar. Once you click on gradebook, it takes you to the classes and their grades that the student are getting. It also, I love this because it's nice and red, that it shows me what assignment Caden is missing, and he did not upload his PE workout last week. So he has a missing assignment right now. Also, I've circled this letter here. If you did not know, you can get very specific class information and the grade breakdown if you click on that letter. So the next screen will show you what that looks like. And so you can see Kane's got an 88%. It tells me what he's done really well on, what he's struggling on as well. So the second one that I want to show you is here at the top. This is a setting where I'm going to show you where some notifications are that you can sign up for. I find them very helpful as a parent. I will say this, in the Lake Washington School District, I only get one option of notification settings to sign up for, and it's my understanding that with Monroe, we have an additional option that I'm going to talk about in a minute. So if you click on that My Account tab at the top of Skyward, it will take you to a page where all of your information is, password information and login. And here in the middle, it'll say notifications, and you can select which notifications you want. This notification sends me missing assignment emails. And so I actually wake up in the morning if my students are missing assignments, my own children, and I have an email showing me what assignment they're missing, when it was due, and whose class it's for. So it allows me to follow up with them either that morning, either by texting them, because I'm usually already at work by the time they wake up, or that night when I get home to talk through what they need to finish the next day. Again, you have a notification in here for Monroe that allows you to sign up for notifications if your student scores below a certain percentage. So you will be able to sign up to have an email notification, and you get to pick the percentage. Maybe you want your student to be notified when your student scores below an 80% or 70% or 60%. So that's another notification option in our Skyward system here in the Monroe School District that you can access. And again, just find it helpful as a parent, because those pop right into my inbox and I can read them on my phone if I'm waiting in line for something or have a minute or two. The final spot, now that I have my own high schooler, that I like on Skyward is this graduation requirements tab over here. Helpful, once you click on that, it shows you what courses they're enrolled in, how many credits they've completed, how many they're currently working on, and then what do they have left remaining. And so this helps keep you up to speed and up to date on how your high schooler is doing in regards to graduation requirements. So those are a couple spots that you might find helpful in Skyward. I am going to hand it over to Miss Sarah Lewis now, and she's going to talk through Zoom with us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We wanted to share with you some of our core technologies we're utilizing this year, and we encourage you to become more familiar with them as well as your student. So today we're going to walk through how your student can join Zoom, and we're going to walk through the authorization process and some troubleshooting tips you can do with your student if you counter an issue. Go ahead, Jeanette. Thank you. So to get started, our school district uses the student login information, which happens to be through their school Google Drive. This gives them access to Google Slides, Docs, etc., and also their email. That being said, we need to make sure their zoom.us that they sign in with Google. As you can see here, they can go to zoom.us, authorize and sign in with their school Google account by clicking that sign in with Google tag. They might have to scroll a little bit to find that or locate it, and then they can log in with their school credentials. There's a few quick notes. If your student is having difficulty accessing Zoom meetings, make sure they're using a Chrome browser. While Safari and Firefox typically do work with Zoom, it tends to play better, especially on laptops, when a student is using a Chrome browser. Another trick is to make sure that they log into their school drive before they access a meeting. This can be through Canvas, or if they log in through their drive and access their Google Calendar that way. As you heard Ms. Seamers mention earlier, make sure that your student is not just closing the laptop, but they're actually logging off occasionally at night. This will trigger an update cycle that we can provide for school computers, and it also allows a chance for updates to run when a student is not trying to log in the morning for their classes. One last component is an opportunity to clear your browser history. This is called clearing the cache. A lot of websites now have adaptive technology where they use information that they have saved in order to load faster. But that means if you're trying to access a website and you had an issue, it might be trying to load that website that had the issue over and over again. So clearing your browser history allows it to kind of reset, so a student might be able to actually log in successfully. Next slide, please. Thank you. As mentioned earlier, in Canvas, once you have synced your account, there are 3 ways to access Zoom meetings. One is through the calendar. Many teachers have enabled a Zoom button in their course pages that can be seen in the navigation tabs. Thank you, Ms. Seamers. And another one is if a student would like to request a special support meeting or would like to participate in a group session, teachers will have scheduled opportunities for students to sign up as well. Our daily expectations for Zoom are the following, and many teachers have their own personalized expectations for Zoom, but we're asking essentially that students are being present and participating when they are engaged in these Zoom meetings. These Zoom meetings offer a video, audio, or both opportunities to interact. This is forming those valuable classroom connections, peer connections, opportunities to collaborate, and also opportunities to problem solve and actually engage in that learning process. So as mentioned earlier, making sure that students are present, removing distractions, being engaged in the Zoom meeting to interact and learn, and also participating by being an active listener and thinking about how they're going to engage positively in those online conversations and interactions, whether it's verbally with the video on, or whether it might be in a chat asking a teacher a clarifying questions or moving the discussion along. And lastly, we wanted to make sure that you are receiving the support that you need. We are aware that there have been some difficulties this year getting everyone in the school district and the state and the world up and running using these various platforms. So once again, make sure you are logging out and restarting the computers, check for updates. And if you do have any questions or concerns, please make sure you're reaching out to a particular teacher or our tech support helpline that is at the number provided. We want to make sure that you and your student feel supported within these core technologies so that they are advancing their own learning.
Awesome, thanks Ms. Sar-Lewis. Next, we'll watch a short video from our three counselors, Ms. Perry, Ms. Woodard, and Ms. Stevens.
Hi Bearcats, this is your school counselors, and we wanted to introduce ourselves and tell you some things and the way we can support you.
Hey guys, my name is Lisa Woodard, and my alpha this year is A through GL.
My name is Sarah Perry, and my alpha O through NI.
I'm Jane Stevens, and my alpha is NJ through Z. As counselors, we do lots of things, and it's hard to reduce it to a short job description. But here's a brief rundown of what we do. Credits to graduation. We partner with you and your families to make sure that you know what your graduation requirements are so that you can graduate on time. We keep track of different graduation requirements for different graduation years. We might make graduation plans for students who are having problems with credits, and we make sure that the state testing requirements are met.
Another thing the high school counselors do is partner with each student on their path to graduation and career and college readiness, essentially helping you plan life beyond high school. We do this through individual meetings, small groups, and guidance lessons. We help you identify and find resources to the different options and pathways available to you, such as Running Start, College in the High School, and Snoisle Tech programs. We also assist in college applications and writing letters of recommendation. So whether you plan to attend college, a career training program, the military, or go straight into the workforce, we are here to assist you.
Another way that we support students is through social emotional learning. We do guidance lessons on resiliency. We provide one-on-one coaching and some intermediate counseling to help students deal with difficult situations, as well as running some small groups for students that are dealing with the same type of issue and just need support. We are only a phone call or email away. Please reach out to us. We are here to support you.
All right, just a follow-up with that. Each counselor is assigned a certain alpha, which they shared with you, and then there's an administrator that partners with them. So I partner with Miss Woodard for A, and now I'm gonna forget them, A through GI. I'm looking at Miss Tark because Miss Tark's after me. A through GI, Miss Tark, and your GL. Right when she coughs. She partners with Miss Perry, and then Mr. Molina is NJ through Z. So Miss Perry's in the middle with Miss Tarek. So please make sure you're including us too if you have questions, because we're happy to help support anything that you might need in a counselor realm as well. So I'm going to hand it over now to Miss Tarek, and she's going to give us a Snoisle and CTE update. Shannon, did you see that there was a question in there about Snoisle and Snoisle emails too? Perfect.
Hi all, and welcome. Thank you again for being with us here tonight. To clarify, part of my role is I oversee both our career and technical education programs as well as our Snoisle program affiliation or partnering. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of run through a few things on those two pieces. So Snoisle is actually a separate school. It's run through Mukilteo School District, and we articulate with them. So we have an agreement with them that we honor with our students. So their online format is through Mukilteo School District. So if you have a Snoisle student, which I saw in that chat there, the question around whether or not they would be able to access Snoisle email, Skyward, and Schoology through their Chromebooks. That is something our tech department is working with Mukilteo School District on. It's something we don't have actually a lot of control over because it's their programs, and so that we are partnering with the Snoisle folks to get that done. We've been working with their director pretty closely to make sure that those things are happening. So my understanding is that those things should be correcting soon if they're not already corrected. But if there's specific concerns, please let us know so that we can follow up with those, because we don't have access to that. We don't actually know when there's an issue sometimes with the Snoisle side. So we need to get that information from you all. Michelle Dickinson, our career and college readiness, is going to be overseeing and be our liaison for Snoisle this year. So she's working with our Snoisle students and families. She's been contacting you directly on some of the transportation issues that we have for some of the small groups that they're allowing to come onto campus for some programs. She also is going to be running the Friday connection time with our Snoisle students, and is reaching out to them to identify when a best time for that work to happen is. So if you are getting emails from Michelle Dickinson, she is trying to set up that time to connect so that we can address specific issues to Snoisle as they come up. As I said, there are some small groups that Snoisle is working in a hybrid model with, that they're bringing in four students at a time that are working with a teacher. There is a really complex schedule that they have set up for that, and they're working with families and our transportation department to work those pieces out. So if you're hearing from them, that's what it's in regards to. Not every program is able to do that. It's specifically for the programs that they've determined to be their most in need of that hands-on experience. So as far as CTE, that's our career and technical education programs. Those are the programs we have here at MHS. Those programs, we're doing our best to provide that curriculum in most difficult circumstances for hands-on classes. So it is 100% online at this time. We actually just started, I believe, on Friday. If you have students in some of our CTE classes, they'll be working with their teacher to access actually computers that we have in our school through something called remote PC viewers. So they'll be able to actually work on a computer in the school through their Chromebook while they're at home. So we're just getting that launched in the last week or so. And then we're continuing to seek out new ways of getting our CTE programs to students. So we have some pretty creative ways of doing that. I know our culinary programs are working at creating at-home labs, and we have we're working with OSPI on curriculum for our Core Plus programs, lots of exciting things happening. So those are the pieces in regards to CTE. See if there's anything in the chat that I needed to address.
Awesome. So we have, thank you, Ms. Tarek. One reminder before we move to Q&A, and you can, there's some folks who have put questions in as we've gone. We're going to be doing these webinars monthly. It'll be towards the end of the month. We are going to be making sure we check when the presidential debates are. I already know the 15th and the 22nd, so it will not be either of those nights. And so we will be doing these once a month, and we really want to make sure that we are supporting you and your questions. So tonight's topics came mostly from the emails and concerns that we've gotten from parents, from students, things that were shared with our teachers through students and parents. And so please make sure if you have something that you are interested in that you think might be valuable for other parents and family members to hear, please do email me or email the office or one of your child's teachers and say, hey, I have a webinar idea for SEAMers. please do that because they'll make sure they get it to me. So we're going to go into our question and answer time now. We've got about, I don't even see what time it is. It's 7:40. So we've got about 20 minutes that we're willing, we can be here and answer questions. And obviously if more come up, I can hang out longer. But Mr. Willie, why don't you start? The question is, my student still does not understand Friday connection time. Who is the teacher and how do they join each week?
All right, great question. So connection time is connected to third period. It's not on Fridays, it's not during third period, but the students are going to be going to their connection time with their third period teacher. And the purpose of the time really is, it's kind of like how I've been describing it, because there was a little bit of confusion about that. It's kind of like if we're in the building and it's lunchtime, maybe at the end of the day, and a teacher's in their classroom, and just kind of an open space for kids to come in and hang out and talk about school if they want, or not school if they want to talk about other things. Just kind of a safe place for kids to connect. Our students, not all of them, but many of them are struggling to have that social time. So it's really kind of started with that in mind, where there's an adult there. It's a safe place. We do have kind of weekly ideas we're providing teachers with, just some questions they can ask kids to talk about, just to kind of break the ice and get them talking about how things are going on at home and what's going well, what's not going well at school, just those types of questions. And then as the year progresses, we will have some of those Fridays where we will be delivering more specific lessons around social emotional support for kids. We do a yearly signs of suicide training with all of our students so that they kind of know what to look for if they're having those thoughts, or if they have a friend who is, like, what are our next steps. So we will have some more targeted lessons during that connection time, but for the most part, it's just kind of a safe space for kids to be social virtually, since we can't do it in the building, and that's what it is. But yeah, so to answer the original question, it's they will be going to that with whoever their third period teacher is. That's who will be their connection time staff member. In most cases, there might be a couple cases where it's not, but for most of our kids, 95% of our kids, it's with their third period teacher.
Yeah. So we've got some follow-up questions, Mr. Willie. What if a student has Snoisle third period? And this might, Ms. Tarek, I know, worked on our groupings, and so she might, either one of you can answer that.
Ms. Tarek, do you want to take that one?
Sure. If they have Snoisle third period, then they're not going to they're working with Miss Dickinson at a different time, and she's reaching out to all of those kiddos individually, and she's setting up a connection time for them. So it's not happening during their Snoisle time. So those who have AM, I always get this backwards, but those who have AM Snoisle would be able to attend their third period connection time. Those who have PM Snoisle would not be able to attend that connection time. So those people with PM Snoisle will be working with Miss Dickinson, and she's reaching out to you individually to connect on that.
Another question about connection time, Mr. Willie, if you want to take it, or I'm happy to. Why is connection time required if it is a drop-in social time?
Well, I mean, technically we're not taking attendance for that connection time. We're only taking attendance for classes. So, but we do feel it's important that kids come. So I guess if we wanted to push it all the way to the extreme, it's not actually required, but we are hoping that our students come, find it valuable, and are participating. It's not graded, and we're not taking attendance. So I guess technically it isn't required, but we do think it's a valuable time, and it's important for kids to have that connection. So for students that aren't coming at all, we probably will follow up and just to find out what's going on, and try to encourage students to be a part of that. But yeah, that's the answer to that question.
Thanks. And I would add to that, additionally, we will be using that time for counselor modules, where if we were in a building, the counselor would be actually in the classroom using class time to present. We also use it, as Mr. Willie said, for our signs of suicide. And so we don't want to take class time to be doing those things. And I think one of the pieces with at least signs of suicide, we want to make sure our students are safe and they know what resources they have. And so we may end up having to move some of those things to a class time, depending on what turnout looks like for connection time as well. A question that hopefully Jess can answer. I receive emails from Canvas that my child has comments from a teacher on an assignment. When I try to click on it, I'm unable to see the comments. Is this because I'm looking from a mobile device, or is it because it's from my account and not my child's?
Those are good questions, and there's a couple different components to answer this. First, the mobile device platform is different slightly than logging into the platform on a computer or a laptop. It's a little bit more streamlined and concise to make it more easily and readily accessible on your phone, as opposed to the computer where you can have more options and more space available. So they are slightly different. The second component is, what are you able to see as the observer compared to what your student sees are different. In this case, part of the reason why you're not able to see those comments is those grades and components are interactions between the student and the teacher. I do recommend that you sit down and overview your students' interaction and see what they see and look at those comments so you're able to help your child and your student improve in those categories and those weaknesses, but you do see pieces differently.
Thanks, Ms. Sarlewis. If my child has an IEP and we have questions or concerns about it, who at the school do we contact? The first person that you should contact is the case manager for your student. They will be the best resource for students on IEPs. I would add that if your student has a 504, the case manager is the counselor. So if you've got questions, address those towards your case manager and or a counselor if it's a 504. And you can always ask us too as administrators. We are happy to help navigate and point you in the right direction. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that. Mr. Molina, I don't know if Mr. Molina is in here. Okay.
I'll add one thing to that. I think, can you read the question again? I just want to make sure.
Sure. If my child has an IEP and we have questions or concerns about it, who at the school do we contact?
Yeah, okay, yeah, so agreed on the case manager. The other piece would be if maybe the question is, and I feel like maybe it's not being completely served in the class, like also reach out to the teacher. You know, maybe the teachers overlook something, or there's just, sometimes parents can provide on our end some context that maybe we wouldn't think about. So don't be afraid to also reach out to the teacher and just say, hey, you know, just here's what my student needs. And you could always loop in the case manager if you need to, but you know, our staff will be welcoming that and open to working with families to help kids. So
next question, when will we hear from our child's IEP case manager?
Is Hugo in here? We should be like now or very quickly here. I mean, I think I'd be surprised. I'm surprised that yeah, I think we had said, I'll have to ask Mr. Molina, but I think we had said by the end of the month, families should have heard from the case managers. So we can check into that and reach out to all of our case managers just to make sure they are connecting with families. But if you haven't had that connection yet, it should be soon. So.
And final question right now, and again, folks can pop others in here if they have them. When do grades count and go on transcripts? So
the quarter classes, those are going to get done pretty quickly here. So I think, was it like November 13th, I think, is when those first quarter classes are done. So those will be completed November 13th. And then the semester classes, I forget the date, sometime in January, I think, or is it January or February? I'm trying to remember when the semester ends. End of January. So the quarter classes in middle of November, and then all of that will go on to transcripts at the semester. So that's how we're handling that at this point.
All right. I don't really see any other questions in there. Maybe we'll hang out for a minute, and if we don't get any questions, then we can all say goodnight. I think if there was anything else that Want your picture day? I can remind you that picture days are Thursday and Friday. Just so I know I've had lots of questions about that while we're waiting and folks put questions in. They are going to happen fully socially distanced. Students should come with a mask on. We will have masks if students do not have one, but we have a limited number. And so we ask that that's only in an emergency situation that you would use those. Students are queued into 30-minute slots, and they will stay in their same line, socially distanced, all the way into the photo booth, get their picture taken, and then leave. Additionally, we will have Bearcat gear from DECA available for purchase on the way out. It will be set up outside under some tents. And so students, if they wanted to get some Bearcat gear, can do that. Pictures start at 9 a.m. both days and go until 3:45 with a lunch break in there from 12:15 to 1. So don't forget about pictures. So some more questions came in as I talked about that. How often are grades updated?
I can jump in on that one. I believe teachers have updated grades every 2 weeks. I do know there have been some nationwide issues syncing Canvas to Skyward. Our tech team and also our district Canvas Skyward guru Denise Hermes have been on some issues. Today was spent troubleshooting and trying to debug several of them as well. So we do know that there are some individual cases where there are some grade sync issues, but we're debugging them. So the grades are being updated daily if that setting has been done, but at least weekly or every 2 weeks is the goal.
Thanks, Ms. Sarlewis. Do we have to call in, or will the teacher know when a student will be gone for attendance? Yes, we actually have our attendance line still running. You can also go into Family Access and enter absences that way as well. I do believe that there are more opportunities for students to access work now that some of the work is asynchronous or independent. But yes, if your student's going to be gone for a medical reason or anything like that, please do let us know. Because again, teachers are taking attendance every day for every class period. Next question, when are the missed IEPs from the spring going to be completed?
I was actually just trying to look back through my emails to find that. And of course, I'm not going to be able to find it probably right now. But I feel like, Shannon, wasn't there an October date for that? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's so October 20th is the date where we're trying to get all of those things in to make up for all the things that had to be postponed due to the closure. So our case managers are working diligently to get those pieces in. While I have the floor, also just a reminder to anybody who has seniors that our counselors are doing one-on-one meetings with our seniors, so in order to make sure that they are totally prepared for graduation. So just keeping that in mind, and if there's questions that are coming up really specific to seniors, your counselors are more than happy to help work through those things, and as they said in their video, just a phone call away.
Thank you. Sorry, someone in the questions is asking about attendance during pictures. Your student can email that teacher and just let them know I have pictures during your class. That'll be excused. They should let their teacher know though. So it's a good chance for your kiddo to be an advocate and use their voice. My student has informed me he is unable to turn in an assignment. Is this an issue you're aware of? And I am going to hand this off to Ms. Sarlewis. This is an issue we are aware of and she can talk to that. Thanks, Ms. Sarlewis.
You're welcome. Yes, we are aware that some students are encountering difficulties. I cannot just give a blanket answer on how to fix that, however, because there are multiple ways to do the same thing in Canvas. I do recommend that your student reach out to your teacher and they can share that assignment as an attachment or share it directly with the teacher to be scored, and also let them know that there is an issue so that we can resolve it with the technology.
Yeah, and I am aware, the ones I'm aware of is that they'll close the assignment, and so then the assignment will be locked. And so working with our teachers of, you know, what does it look like to close an assignment, because then they have to go back in and open it back up. I know that's something that's been impacting access for students to finish an assignment if they were late on it or they were trying to turn it in late.
Ms. Seamers, I should go back to the question around when our grades posted the transcripts. I'm gonna have to check with our registrar on that. I'm still like warming my high school brain back up. So I thought the semester classes went to transcripts at the semester, but I suppose it could be at the quarter. So we better check on that. Maybe just put a little note in the newsletter to make sure we're not giving misinformation on that.
Okay. Don't see any other questions in there. You still have an opportunity to come get a Chromebook. Share that if your student needs a Chromebook. If you're finding that you're having difficulties, we did learn this week that a number of students who were trying to access Zooms on their iPhone or an Apple device were struggling a little bit with that. And so you do still have opportunity to come get a Chromebook. All you need to do is call the main office and they can set you up a time to pick one up, as well as textbooks. So if your student did not get their textbooks, just email or let us know and we can set that up as well. We'll have them all checked out and you just come by and get them. So I don't see any more questions in there. Maybe we'll give it about 1 more minute and see where we go.
Ms. Seamers, on that note, if your student is in photography, we also have some cameras available for checkout. My teachers reached out and many students declined the offer of checking out a camera because they decided to use their phone instead. But if you as a parent decide that maybe you'd like your student to have the camera instead, that's something that is available as well. We just need to let teachers know that that's what your preference is.
Thank you. All right, don't see any more questions coming in, so I think we can call, oh, one just popped in. Ah, you're welcome, Janet. Thank you for being here. I'm glad that you all find the webinars helpful. We're grateful that you join us in the evening. And we just want to make sure that we're doing the best we can to communicate with you all during this time that's new to all of us, even though it feels like we've been in it forever. Thank you, Ms. Sarah Lewis, for joining us tonight. I know as a teacher, your time is so precious. And so I appreciate you being our kind of on-site go-to for anything digital. I love being able to count on you, so thank you.
You're welcome. And parents, thank you for your support. Please do reach out with your tech needs, concerns, issues. I know the answer, it's coming, is not very helpful, but just remember in the end, the tech is there, we're working on it, and what's most important is your child and your family and that they are learning and they feel supported, and that's what we truly want for you and your families.
Great. Mr. Billy, any final words?
Nope, just want to say thank you to our parents and our community for your support and for your patience, and keep sending us feedback and asking questions, and we will try to help as best we know how as we work through this with you. So you guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.